We talk about soft materials for loudspeakers. This is a work done with some people. It will be in two parts. Maybe the second part, I will have no time to present you the second part. I don't know exactly what will be the duration of my talk. So just in case there are the slides, but maybe I will not have time for the second part. And for the third part, for the first part, sorry, it is essentially the work of PhD thesis, Emil Gernel. He was co-supervised by Corey Tenska. Okay, so I'm talking about loudspeaker. Got it. Okay. Okay. If nobody else. Okay, so why should we work on the new loudspeaker type with active materials? So the loudspeaker is almost 1 century old, and it has not changed a lot since it was proposed by Rice and Kellogg. Essentially, it's a coil here, made generally of copper coil, and a magnet that creates a magnetic field, radial magnetic field. When there is current in the coil, it creates a force because this current is inside the magnetic field, and this creates a force. This classical loudspeaker has not changed a lot, and the drawbacks we can think about is that it's quite heavy because you have to use large magnets. You need also copper coil, so it can be expensive in terms of materials. And also there are some distortions in these loudspeakers that we could improve that by using other materials. So let's try to do that with active materials. And when I'm talking about active materials, in our work, there are two kinds of active materials we are interested in. The first kind is piezoelectric materials. It's also a classical way to build transducers. The main principle is sketched here. You have at equilibrium in a piezoelectric material, the positive and negative charge are equilibrated. The center of positive and negative charge are the same place. So there is no electrical field into the material. If you deform it, you create dipoles because you change the center of these charges, and you create an electrical field. And the opposite is also true. If you create an electrical field into this material, you can deform it. The piezoelectric material we are interested in this work is polymer piezoelectric materials, a PVDF, in a particular kind of structure, here this one, which we can obtain by stretching foils of PVDF. We can create molecules that have this behavior. The other kind of active material we can be interested in for building a loudspeaker is dielectric elastomers. The principle is more recent, around 2000, and it's the following. You have polymer here, inside here, and you put a soft electrode on both faces. And if you create a voltage, in general it's large voltage, things like a few thousand volts, you accumulate charges that create a field, but also are attractive. In this configuration, they are attractive. So you create a pressure on this material. And if this material is incompressible, it will increase its surface. So there is an electrostatic pressure. Okay, so for classical modeling of piezoelectric effects, just briefly, in the context of linear elastic material, you couple stress and strain fields, and it's generally, in the most general case, done by a fourth order tensor. And here it's for just the stress assumption of the deformation tensor. And here the displacements, charge displacements in terms of electrical field is coupled to the electrical field via this tensor. And if you couple both, when inside a piezoelectric material, you have this symmetrical coupling through this tensor here, the piezoelectric coupling tensor. So it's just how we in a most general case, we model a piezoelectric material where we couple electrical field and stress field, mechanical stress. In our case, we will have a particular geometry. It's a thin film here, where the electrical field will be perpendicular to the film, and we couple this with the stress, mechanical stress, in the plane of the film. So the electrical field will be in one direction, and the stress field will be zero in this direction. So when we couple this, we have this here, the piezoelectric material in green, both electrodes. We have no voltage, no current, and we are at equilibrium. And we create a voltage. There is also, here, it's not exactly current, it's the charge displacement. The current is the time derivative of that. You create a stress that has for consequence to increase the area of the piezoelectric field. Okay. There has been a switch of slides. Sorry, yeah, this slide should be before. Sorry. Now for the dielectric elastomer, the modeling we use is slightly different, more general, but the result is almost the same. We have dielectric elastomer film here, and it's a passive film, passive material. There is no piezoelectric effect inside, but we have soft electrodes, and when we create voltage here, there is a force due to the interaction between each charges. The general way to model it is to add to the stress tensor an electrostatic effect, which is due to the interaction between these charges. And additionally, we impose into the stress field we add via Lagrange multiplier the incompressibility condition, so that when we compress that, the field, there is an increase of surface, so that the surface, the total volume of the material is constant. What we see here is that the stress tensor, in this case, is not linearly coupled to the voltage, but to the voltage squared. As you see here, there is E times E here. And as E, the electrical field, is proportional to the voltage, if you have here, it's a kind of condenser here, electrical condenser, and the electrical field inside this condenser is U divided by the thickness. So it's proportional to U, the electrical field. So the stress field is proportional to U squared. So I will talk about briefly later about this, but the problem you have with that is that if you want to build a loudspeaker with that, you will not have a stress and deformation proportional to the electrical signal you put into the loudspeaker, but to the square. And we don't want that for loudspeaker. We want something that is exactly proportional to what we send. In the case of piezoelectric material, it was linear, it was easier at start. Okay, so let's go back to the slide. Sorry. So in both cases, when we put a voltage here, we have an increase of surface. The problem is that this will not create sound. you want to create a loudspeaker, because you just have an oscillation in this direction. And if you want to create sound, you need to push here in front of you. So this is not able to create sound. So what could we do? The first idea is to add curvature. If you add curvature, for instance, here, if you increase here the surface, you will, the consequence will be that the volume here will increase like that. And if you decrease the surface, it will go in the other direction. So this will create oscillations. And in this case, you push here in front of you, and you are able to create acoustic waves. So to do that, you have two possibilities. Either you use a shell structure or an inflating membrane. And what I will present in the first part of the talk is what we do with dielectric elastomer loudspeakers. I will go into details on that. You have a membrane here, circular membrane, and you increase the pressure inside. You have a kind of soft balloon that expands. And next, you put voltage and you create this oscillation. So this will be the first part. Okay, this slide, okay. And the second part, if I have time, and as I said, I'm sure I will not have time. So the second part will be skipped. You have the slides if you have questions. There is an also possibility is that you can create moments if you put this kind of active materials on a plate. If you put this on a plate and you do so that if you put some voltage, for instance, a positive voltage, this material here expands and the one below contracts. And by doing that, it's the opposite of what I said here, you create bending moments, and this also is able to create movements perpendicular to the plane of the plate. So this is what is generally done for control of plates or beams with piezoelectric material, and we call this kind of objects biomorph. Biomorph because you use two layers to create this kind of oscillation. Okay, so now we want to put that into loudspeaker, build a loudspeaker with this principle. And what is our objective? So a loudspeaker can be summarized like that. You have here an electrical signal, which is just something which is proportional to the musical or speech signal we want to reproduce. It's sent to the loudspeaker, it oscillates, creates waves, and somewhere you have a pressure, microphone, or you're here, and you have this pressure at your listening position. And a perfect loudspeaker in a perfect room, the transfer function between the velocity and the pressure should be like that. So the transfer function is the ratio between the signal, output signal, and the input signal in the frequency domain. You have to imagine and take your Fourier space, the Fourier transform of that, the Fourier transform of that, and you do the division in the Fourier domain, and you want it to be constant for any frequency. You want the pressure to be proportional with the same coefficient to the input voltage. So you have for the modulus of the transfer function something that is constant, and here for the arguments, so the phase difference between this and this, something which is almost constant, a linear here, because you have a time between time difference, time delay between U and P, and this creates this kind of thing. So what we want is that a perfect loudspeaker has this kind of transfer function. So this is an example. Please listen. Okay, what you have listened to is the transfer function, the pressure measured by a microphone created by a dielectric elastomer loudspeaker. So you have listened to a sweep, silent sweep, and if the transfer function would be perfect for any frequency, you would have the same pressure value in dB. It's dB. It's clearly not the case. So this is not a perfect loudspeaker. Our objective for optimization would be something like this yellow curve. I don't put something that goes to down to zero frequency because there are physical constraints that make it impossible to put as much energy as here into the low frequency. You will need too high tension voltage, sorry, to do that. So there are techniques. What we have listened to is a log sweep, and there are techniques to build this kind of transfer function. So we will try to improve that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So you show the perfect curve.
But,
yeah. Today, what would be like the best? What would be the curve of the best?
For a standard loudspeaker, really optimized, you have that and an oscillation of a few dBs. So 2-3 dBs. Here, as you see, there are amplitudes of 20 or 30 dBs. And there are standards to say, okay, this kind of loudspeaker is okay. You need, it's a number around this, 5 dBs. It has to be comprised in the 5 dB range, in all the frequency range. Most of all the oscillations here are due to the problems of this loudspeaker. And also, if you put that in a real room, here it's in an anechoic room, even a perfect loudspeaker, that's why I say a perfect room, if you put that perfect loudspeaker in this room, you will add other oscillations just due to the room. Okay, so we'll try to improve that. First part, dielectric elastomers, and second part, okay. Okay, as I said, it's mainly the PhD thesis of Emil Garnel. Okay, these are also attempts to build a dielectric elastomer loudspeakers in the literature. As you see, it started around 2006, 2005, and there are many kinds of dielectric elastomer loudspeakers. Based on inflating membranes, it's the kind of system we are interested in, but also the configuration are possible to push air from a membrane extension. We were in this context, we were lacking some models, mainly for that, many systems, but no modeling. The modeling we had seen in the literature at the start were essentially 1D modeling, so just in the thickness of the membrane, and 2D structural dynamics model of an inflated plate, but no interaction with acoustics and no strong interaction with electromagnetics. So there was a need for modeling and optimization of that. So what we want, a model with all these ingredients: double acoustic cooling, electromechanical cooling, model dynamics, and so that we next can validate these experiments, and when it's done, we can do optimization. So I will present the model and the results. Okay, so the principle is the following. We have a dielectric elastomer membrane here. So the soft gray here is the membrane, and the dark gray is the electrode. So it's a soft carbon grease or it can be also a more sophisticated electrodes, but it has to be soft and conductive. So we stretch a little bit this membrane, and next we increase the pressure inside this cavity. Once it's inflated, we put a non-zero voltage here. I should have presented before the modeling because okay, we put static voltage, so it deforms a little bit, and next we put a dynamic voltage with this W here, and I will explain just after why we put this kind of voltage into this membrane. And we study here the linear dynamics around these states. So here it's a nonlinear problem we solve. And once it's at equilibrium here, we solve the linear dynamics around these states. Next thing is that we consider an axisymmetric model. So it's a circular membrane inflated above cylinder. So the electrodes will be some annular of the annular form. Everything is axisymmetric here. So we use an axisymmetric model which is sketched here. So what we see here is the box here, the cylindrical box, the membrane which is inflated, and the hair here, and another part of it. So the membrane is solved, membrane dynamics and electromechanical property here. And we have here acoustics in this volume, and here we have what we call PML. I will talk about it just after. So for the membrane dynamics, as I said before, we have this kind of model. And why we use a particular form of voltage here. So U of T is the square root of U squared, DC voltage, constant voltage, and a W here, which is our music signal or speech signal. And by doing that, we are sure that we have a stress field which is proportional to here W around an equilibrium state, which is nonlinear. Now for the acoustics, exterior acoustics and interior acoustics, we solved classically the acoustics equation in the frequency domain, so that it's like an Helmholtz equation. So omega here is the frequency at which we are working, and CF squared CF is the velocity of sound, and also we can put inside here porous material to dump the waves, and dumping the waves inside the material is just changing here the coefficients here, and in particular we have a kind of complex propagation property. Okay, complex wave number. Okay, so I talked about TML. It's like if you put your loudspeaker numerically in an anechoic room. So you have to imagine that these are absorbing walls for the acoustic waves. And to do that, we make a change of variables of the R coordinate and Z coordinates by adding this term here. And theta here is a function that goes from 0 at the start of the anechoic layer and increase here, slowly increase, so that the waves are gently smoothed when they enter here. So it's like if now we have a loudspeaker in an infinite domain, because all the waves are absorbed by this. Okay, that's just a detail. It's not exactly the Colino and Monk proposition. We do this layer independent of frequency, because at the end we want to solve a linear eigenvalue problem and viscous problem for the linear eigenvalue. Okay. So now we just have to mesh that. We do that with FreeFrame. We mesh it's not visible here, but we mesh the structure. We mesh inside, we mesh outside, we mesh the PML. And the idea of the FreeFrame software is that we create finite element matrices with that. And when we have these matrices and information on the mesh, we put that in MATLAB and we do all the solving with MATLAB once we have the matrix. And we solve everything in MATLAB. So the kind of system we solve in MATLAB is the following. The variables here, these are vectors, large vectors of finite elements. QE is for the pressure inside, QE is for the pressure outside, including the PML, and X is the dynamical variable. It's a vector that describes the deformation of the membrane around its equilibrium. What we see here is that there are couplings here. If we remove these couplings, we have an independent problem. So, for instance, for this line, if we remove this coupling, it's like if we solve the acoustics propagation into this domain. Into this domain, without influence of the mechanical structure here. Same for this line. If we remove that, this term at 0, it's like we solve just the acoustics side. And here, if we move these two lines, it's just like if we solve a dynamics problem, structural dynamics problem. And this couplings here comes from the interface here. In fact, we don't even need to separate between this zone and this zone. The only thing is that we have this theta function that is 0 inside here and slowly increases into the PML mesh. So it's clearly separated here because we see it, but there is no particular problem. We just need a function that is 0 and increases into the PML. It's okay for you? Yeah, yes, here, yeah, also, yeah, it's in fact it's yellow, but it's not clearly visible. But there is a mesh, and there is the same acoustics problem, but just here there is an additional term that increases when you enter. So it's everything yellow and this zone are inside QE. Yeah. No. And there is so there are these coupling terms that comes from the interaction at the interface here. And there is a forcing term that comes from the electrostatic force. Yeah, just a word that we don't solve for the pressure, but for the displacement potential, which is just that, because there is more rapid convergence when we do a model analysis. Okay, so okay, some details. I will give some details. These are coupling terms. This one also, and we are in this case in the strong coupling case. Here, the M, which is a kind of mass ratio. Here it's a density of fluid times the surface. No, it's not the surface; it's the radius of the membrane. And the density of solid times the thickness of the solid. This coefficient is approximately 1 of the order 1, so we have strong coupling. That means that when you have a very thin membrane that oscillates, its dynamics is influenced by the acoustics. You have some added mass due to the fact that we push some air. And the membrane is very light, so even air is enough to have an influence on the dynamics. And also we create waves. That means that we give energy to the fluid domain, so that this will induce dampings for the membrane. So are these terms, and also these are the terms that give birth to the waves. Okay, electrostatic forcing, I already talked about that, but we can also just see that we can influence the coefficient, have an influence on the coefficient of this vector, where we force the membrane when we change the shape of the electrode. And the shape of the electrode is basically a function that equals 1 where there is an electrode and 0 when there is no electrode. So in this region, we don't force, and in this region, we don't force, only in this region. Okay, so just here a detail on the model analysis we are performing. If you see the equation before, it's just a model analysis problem, mass matrix, stiffness matrix. Here we are in frequency domain, so we work at particular frequency, which is imposed by the frequency of the forcing, just like that. What we want to do is to work with eigenmodes and eigenfrequencies of this problem. So we solve the eigenmodes. We look for the eigenmodes of this problem. And because the matrices are complex and non-symmetrical, we have two eigenmodes family, the left eigenmode family and the right eigenmode family. So the orthogonality between eigenmodes are not between one family of eigenmodes, but two families, the left and right families. At the end, when we have solved that, we obtain some eigenmodes, and the displacement, the general solution X here, which is the vector of our solution, it contains acoustic pressure and displacement, is the sum of the contribution of all the modes, with the right modes here. And once we have put that into this equation, we do the projection on the left eigenmodes here, and also the forcing on the left eigenmodes. And due to orthogonality, if we pass this step, we know that all the coefficients of this sum obey this equation, where Fm is the projection of the force on the left eigenmode. And here it's the forcing frequency, and here one eigenfrequency of one mode. And also we have to remember that this is complex because we add complex terms into the equation due to the PML, to the dampings, and so on. So we can work in the model domain to solve this problem. These are the so just go back one side. We solve the eigenvalues, and the square root of that is one eigenfrequency. And what is plotted here is the imaginary part of this eigenfrequency, which gives the modal loss. That means that's how the energy decays when we have free oscillation for this mode. And this is for each mode. And it's plotted for all the modes and eigenfrequencies we find. And when we plot that, we clearly see two families of modes. The first one is this, and it corresponds to classical modes. Here, for instance, it's one of the first modes of the dynamics of the system, but which contains also the solution for the acoustics. And if you look at the other family, if you plot the mode, we find something that is dominated by things that happens in the PML. So it's called PML modes. They have no physical meaning because it's clearly due to the anechoic walls we have put here. But they are important if we want to reconstruct the dynamics and, in particular, the propagation. Okay, so the solution at the end, as I said, is the sum of all the modes And the coefficients here are obtained by the resonance equation I presented before. So it can be separated into displacement, pressure, and pressure. And we include PNL nodes. But when we have done that, we went from a system with many degrees of freedom, a finite element with many degrees of freedom, a few thousand degrees of freedom, and now we can reduce the size of the problem to a few hundred, so we can do faster computation. In particular, it's interesting for optimization. Okay, so now we have the solution into a small domain. As you have seen, we were in a small box with anechoic. But we want the pressure radiated by this loudspeaker far from this loudspeaker. For instance, for a point outside. So if you never did acoustics before, maybe it's new for you, but there is a classical integral in acoustics, and also it's used in electromagnetics. It's the Kirchhoff-Helmholtz integral. If you know the solution on a surface, on a closed surface of the pressure and the gradient of the pressure along this surface, perpendicular to this surface, you can compute the pressure anywhere in the domain, but just using this integral on this surface. So it's a closed surface, you have to rotate 2 pi around this axis. And so it's now easy using this integral to calculate the pressure anywhere, even outside the domain. What appears here is the green function of the Helmholtz equation. Okay, so just to say that by just keeping a few hundred modes, we can compute with a good precision the radiated pressure for any point here. Here we compare, if we don't do modal analysis, we just do the full finite element calculation. We do the modal calculation here, and we do also the Kirchhoff-Helmholtz integral, and everything is the same. So the method at least was theoretical. Now we will compare that to experiments. So we have built some loudspeakers. So what we see here is a membrane, thin membrane. Here we have a sketch of the fabrication of the box. And what you see here is that we have particular shape of electrodes. The central part is a part where there is electrode on both sides of the membrane. And this part around is a part where there is electrodes only on one face. So above, below, above, below, above, below, like that. So it's built by putting 2 shapes of electrodes on both sides, and you get this kind of thing. We use pad printing to, it's just a pad that prints the electrode on the. So by doing that, you have an electrical field only in this region, because here you have only one face where there is some voltage. Okay, so just to say that before doing experiment and comparing with model, we have to measure, do some preliminary measurement to have all the parameters of the model. So we fix the material properties with the Gantt model. It's an image processing to get the displacements of the center of this hemisphere. These 2 curves show you that you have a slight change of behavior when you put electrode or not no electrode. So putting an electrode changes a little bit the behavior of the material. It's a slight change, so we didn't include that effect into the model, but in case it could be interesting to consider it. Okay, the membrane thickness has also to be measured. When we will put some damping material into the box, we have to characterize also how the acoustic waves propagate into the box. So we do that with propagation model in an impedance tube we have in the lab. You send waves here with the loudspeaker, and you measure how the waves are reflected, and we compare it with the model. Okay, so now here are some experimental mode shapes we obtained using a laser vibrometer. So the vibrometer is scanning all the surface. It performs many transfer functions, and we extract from that the eigenmodes and the eigenfrequency. These are a few eigenmodes we obtained experimentally that we can now compare to the numerical modes. There is no visible difference for the modes. We have some difference for the frequency, slight difference, in particular for the first mode. It's quite important. Okay, so now we will compare the model with the experiments in an anechoic room. So you have here the loudspeaker and one microphone for doing near-field measurements and one microphone for doing far-field measurement. Here is the pressure of 1 meter we measure. So what we presented here is the measurement by DC. So we send a sweep like before, and we get this kind of transfer function. The pressure we measure in dB, normalized by the input voltage assumption at the frequency. So we'll not compare directly with the model, full model, but just to show you how important are the ingredients, I will go progressively. The first model we could compare is this one. It's a model where we only solve the dynamics for membrane with no exterior acoustics. We don't look at the influence of the wave we are creating or the fluid around. We solve the dynamics and then we propagate waves and we get this kind of behavior. So as you see, it's not okay at all. The second model is a model where we do almost the same, but the only thing we add is that when the volume change here, the pressure change. For instance, if a mode does this kind of volume change, you compress, so there is an increase of pressure, you détente in English, depress, the pressure increase, and this adds a kind of a stiffness to the dynamics, and this is more okay. But still, you can see some differences. As you see the peaks here are almost okay, but not these peaks here. And now, if you do the full coupling, so we add acoustic inside the domain, outside the domain, you have very satisfying results, and you have also these additional peaks. So these peaks here are due to the dynamics of the membrane. And these new peaks here, in fact, are due to the acoustic modes of the cavity. So what you see here for one mode is this kind of pressure inside. It's an eigenmode of the cavity, which has an interaction, of course, with the membrane, so that you get the same coupled mode. But these peaks are due to the cavity. Okay, so the next improvement you can do in order to have a more flat response is to add damping inside. So that's why I talked about damping and foam in the box, and the model is satisfying to reproduce that. So now, okay, that's just to say that also in terms of directivity, it's not so bad with the model. I have to So now we have done our best to have a good model, and what we tried is to look at what happens when we change the shape of the electrodes. So what you see here is a large disk, a small disk, a small annulus to what is the influence of that. And why we do that? We obtain that by doing some optimization. So I don't go into details, but you can have different objectives when you are doing optimization. And what we tried was it was some tries, and I will present results on these two first. For instance, we can say, okay, we want to maximize the energy given around one mode. So we want to maximize the coupling for one mode or minimize. So we have tried two kind of optimization, but also here we could also have more complex optimization where we could want to minimize the deviation with respect to a mean value of the radiative pressure. So here just to say that we do some calculation in FreeFEM and MATLAB. So there was calculation in both. Okay. And the optimization loop includes both programs. So what we can do at this, if we want to maximize mode 2, we can improve that. If we want to minimize mode 2, we can also minimize mode 2, but it was the most important mode in the dynamics. It was difficult to do better than that. We also tried just by numerics, not experiments, to add more annular electrodes in order to cancel the second mode, and it was possible by doing forcing in phase opposition between the blue and the gray. So things are possible if you have more complex electrode shapes. And maybe I will end with that because I'm talking since a long time. I should stop now. By just showing you that we do another improvement by adaptive filtering. So adaptive filtering is we start from this, and what we can do is filter the signal before sending it to the loudspeaker. If we want this perfect response, we can filter before to compensate for that. And what we wanted to show is that it's possible to compensate, but also follow the evolution of the properties of the loudspeaker during the experiment. If, for instance, we change the pressure inside the box, we can adjust our filter by doing a loop in real time to correct that. So, okay, so just our details. And how we do this measurement is just by measuring the impedance of the loudspeaker. We can measure the voltage and the current we give to the system, and it's influenced by the dynamics of the membrane. So we can measure it electrically, just by electrical measurement, and we can adjust our filter. And we were able to improve it's not the optimized value. It's a video. Maybe I won't show you this video, but you can see it online if you look for this work. Okay, it's just the first part of the talk. So I knew that it was too long. So we did the same kind of a study with piezoelectric material, where we can work both on membrane extension and moment, and we have another control parameter to even better improve the radiation. So I just go to the last slide. Yeah, it's wrong, sorry. Okay. So it's the end. Ongoing work is a work with Marco Alfonso. He is working on material improvements. He's putting some carbon nanotubes into the membrane to improve the dielectric coupling. And on piezo, we are now working on a real loudspeaker for real application. Try to go into the real things. Okay, thank you for your attention. Sorry for the long talk.